Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. Welcome to Dreamy Dreamland with your sensei, Al Bob. I am your sensei, your griot, to tell you a story. And welcome. Monsters from the Ed. It's Gilgamesh's turn. It's when we let our ego bring ourselves to be a monster. It seems that has been what has been going on with the human race for at least the last 60,000 years, if not a million. And we rather delude ourselves, ignore what's right in front of our face. But in the dynamic of the self-aware mud puppet, what matters is love, nothing else. I've been sculpted by many, seen as a great potential. And I have been a cheeky monkey my whole life. Early on, I learned when I was destined to be a rocket scientist for the Pope that you can't fight City Hall, right? But you can navigate it. And you can navigate it if you serve love's co-creation. You're there for fame and fortune, not going to work out too good. But if you're there to learn to love's co-creation, you can serve in a fashion that is benefit to all. I have 3 rules. Doctor, do no harm. Do not get involved unless you have an exit strategy, a workable exit strategy, to bring the innocents out of harm's way. And do not get involved unless you can learn something that will enable you to be better. In every day and every way, I strive to be better, so I may serve love's co-creation to bring us home. All of our relations. We are not here to be merchants of death. We're not here to extract wealth. We're here to serve, to understand, to make ourselves better. To believe in something to the point where you would do harm, where you would do things for your ego. So that's what, when you believe in something, you're putting your ego first. And you focus it through a belief structure that you think will save you, make you stronger, make you excellent, make you exceptional, make you better, not better, but worth more than anybody else. You're not here to put a value on anything. You're here to serve love's co-creation. And if you ignore that, you will just be destined, as Hamlet was, to be stuck in the tomorrow of tomorrow of tomorrow. I'm going to switch over to a novel I'm writing, and I'm going to read it to you. I'm having faith that this is going out over the live chat. And this is one of 4 novels this year. This is what I spent this year doing. And I wrote Legend and Legacy and Ear Hair, right? And the 4th is still a work in progress. And that may be the name of it. So I'm going to read this to you. X-Rated, Ear Hair. Ear Hair is book number 2, first in the X-Rated series. Don't believe a word I say. This is poetry's run-on sentence, a life story of ego's sadism. What you say, I can't hear you because I don't want to, for you're not in my newsfeed tribe. You're not speaking Fox. CNN, MSNBC is just fake news speak. That's why I listen to Boogaloo music on my Bluetooth boombox earbud in Born Again Mercantile JC. Full blast to drown out cancel cultural crap like JC being black. Love's unheard word voice, spoken by the pigtailed girl. It's not enough for humanity in first person to come to drink when the invitation from love's higher source has gone forth. The adept must transform alchemically their ego into a new skin of service to retain the new wine of love's infinite transformative purpose. Quote, Love's unheard voice, the pigtail girl. Which way will you turn? Ronnie Jokebox was a hybrid clone of the insectoid hidden hand of the fascist corporate, military, media, financial, scholastic, industrial, mercantile eagle eye of Gob. Just like most mud puppets, Ronnie was Gob's science fair experiment. Unknown, you know Gob, the bigger than big, morbidly obese white guy who sits on a big gold toilet in the clouds, who looks like Popeye saying, I is what I is, so eat my shit and die. Gob's Hell's enterprise of Terrian of Earth. What you say was Ronnie Jokebox's son, being the bloodline of the fracking exceptional moron Gob. They felt nothing of love's one love. If they could not fuck it, kill it, steal it, or lie about it, it was the other than themselves. And anything that was other, it needed to be killed, fucked, stolen from, or lied to. Their white male, more money, more unsustainable capital profit exploitation of the other had nothing to do with love's co-creation of sustainable abundance for all our relations. For love's one love was nothing to do with the illusion of the ego, mercantile big lie of the imperial wasp need for greed and ego. That was all the Jokebox lineage of Gob's golden rule. He who has the gold rules. Wanted more money, more power, lie, steal, cheat was just the Jokebox axiom to be the powers that should not be. They serve Gob's hidden hand by being the ever-present corrupt power that should not be. Fear, hate, violence is not love's work in progress. Peter, What You Say Jr. was What You Say Sr.'s only son and Ronnie Jokebox's grandson. Junior hated being a jokebox and especially a junior. So Junior went by the name Peter, the name of the father of the bitch that popped him out of life's potato hole slimy existence. Peter did not have any contact with his biological mother, Loretta. Well, whatever barren cunt he had to call mom could not stand the sight of Peter, for it reminded them of their barrenness. What You Say kept Peter, for after Peter was born, What You Say had an accident holstering his magnum after he threatened a black mother and child for walking in front of him. The weapon discharged, taking What You Say's colon, testicles, penis, and kneecap. Losing the kneecap took out What You Say's ankle and foot, leaving What You Say to be a eunuch Captain Ahab. What You Say's great white whale was crack cocaine. What You Say was afforded a very generous retirement package from the taxpayers of the city of Miami's police department. For What You Say shot himself in the line of duty to make things right in the eyes of the criminal white just us oligarchy. The black mother and child were incarcerated for 99 years, even though a bank ATM camera caught the whole thing. The black mother and child had the misfortune of being blind and were getting out of a handicapped vehicle, being assisted by the driver, who was Muslim. Even though the driver was born in New York City, he was deported to Gitmo before he could testify. And the video, which had been seen by billions on the internet news, was lost. And any juror who had seen the video or was not a white male police officer was executed for being counterculture prejudice. What You Say was a narcotic officer. He knew where all the bodies were buried, which meant he was the war on drugs. That is, he killed the street dealers who did not work for him and then took their drugs and sold it to kindergarteners who were poor and of color. For he was also a resource officer, making sure to carry out Georgie 43's law. All poor, non-white children were to be left behind. The hidden hand of God leaves nothing to chance. Its ego's illusion of mercantile soul, money is ego's power worldview, that says love's one love is irrelevant and truth can be purchased. Peter hated being his father's son, but took his father's place of loving and selling drugs. He loved making junkies out of colored babies. He hated school, but he loved carrying a gun. The gun made up for how bad he felt about himself. Shooting his first teacher in first grade made him a big man at age 7, and Governor Rick let him walk, for Peter was standing his ground for that uppity nigger was spreading cancel culture. Peter always had a thick wad of Benjamins. Peter could buy anyone's superficial love and respect. Cash was king, and Peter's world view, Peter could barely read, but superficially, Peter was the king of his world. And J.C. Peter's personal savior killed niggers. Okay, I'm talking now. What am I saying? I am saying to be awake is to transform. On death's door, it is not enough for humanity in the first person to come to drink when the invitation from love's higher source has gone forth. The adept must transform alchemically their ego into a new skin of service to retain the new wine of love's infinite transformative purpose. The traveler was blinded by the illumination of Buddha as Buddha stood in quiet contemplation. The traveler asked Buddha, "Are you a god?" Buddha replied, "No." The traveler then inquired, "So what are you?" Buddha replied, "I'm awake." To truly be awake, one must live life in service to love in reverence with the great law of creation, love's co-creation. Our Creator's love responds equally to the call of faith from all its creations that co-creation has fashioned so wonderfully and so purely in the supreme hope of absolute cosmic freedom for all. The sacred science, a shamanic, psychosocial, forensic, anthropologic alchemy. This is the spiritual alchemy, and wise are they who first master it in themselves before attempting to govern the elements in others or in nature. For thus is the karma justified by wisdom and rendered in balance with the light, dark, chaos, and all that is love's co-creation. Wake up! Love is God. God's love for its creation is all of our relations' birthright. Our faith is God's love, is love's work in progress. One loves enterprise. Great illuminated ones like the Nazareans are masters of alchemy's quality of operating within an energy framework of love's conscious adhesion and magnetism that is the very principle of love's co-creation's transfer of transformational energy. That is, love is the science of alchemy, for without love, it is impossible to create matter. It is love's law that without love, nothing can not create something except empty illusion of covetous, egocentric, non-existent, mercantile reality that is experienced as hell on earth. Sin does not come to the door of those practitioners, for their motives, purpose, and methods are pure, and their acts are also just in service to love's enterprise. God's hell's enterprise on earth. Achieving a momentary coveted outcome by fixing the data to fit desired parameters does not manifest a positive completion of the enterprise. But if the sought after outcome is not failure, then one inevitably needs to use the lens of shamanic, psychosocial, cultural, forensic, anthropologic alchemy to acquire love's fortune's fate. The mind of love is synonymous with the adept's mind of co-creation. This is characterized by the alchemical attunement specifically directed to the higher intelligence of the adept to create all our relations work in progress, unconditional love. As Peter grew older, Peter learned nothing, and then one day Peter was driving his Harley race rocket motorcycle to rape a young girl who rebuffed his lust. Peter was speeding 100 miles an hour in a school zone. Peter, entering the crossing, mowed down 33 children like a sigh in a field of bloodied wheat. Peter did not escape the carnage unscathed. The severed head of one of the children flew through the air like a guided missile of karma's fate. The child's head stuck itself in the spokes of the front wheel, jamming the fork from spinning the front wheel, thus shooting Peter's body like a bullet into the concrete wall that held the gate to Love's heavenly school of hard knocks. Peter believed that his body was the pinnacle of God's power, seemingly impervious to any harm. Peter felt exceptionally chosen. Peter had been shot at many times, those with him hit by lead and died. Peter always was spared. Spoilers. This is the pigtail girl speaking. Quote, spoilers. I separated words and pushed together code. Peter believed that his body was all he was, and services God's fear, hate, and social sadism to a purpose that always paid off his wants, his way. Nothing mattered to Peter, but Peter's life was only about him. As Peter flew through the air to his certain death, Peter thought for the first time of his mortality. I'm only 19. Am I going to die? I have been a good person. I have done everything God tells us to do. Fuck, kill, lie, steal. I'll go to God's transactional mercantile heaven where everything will be more money, all for me. Then Peter saw everything slow way down. And right in front of the concrete wall of Peter's death was a little black Jesus, LBJ. Like a bullseye, Peter slowed down until he stopped in midair, stuck in time, and was almost nose to nose with little black Jesus. Though Peter equal thought Peter equal TP, but that N-word looks like a little black Jesus. LBJ. Peter heard LBJ in his head. Of course I am black. I was born in Africa to a black mother and father. TP. But Gob is a big white guy. LBJ. No, Gob is an alien insectoid mercantile mobster running a not too good pyramid scam, and your body is not your conscious self. It is just a prison cell of ego's lie. The great maker is the burning bush, love's co-creation in one loves with all our relations, all flora and fauna for all generations, ahead and behind, all connected through one love's work in progress, where all our relations is the we and me. There is no separation. We are all one love in that enterprise. The why you're here is to decide to co-create in one love, to give the burning bush a reflection that we all can ascend to a higher and higher consciousness. When we hit this wall, when you hit this wall, you will have to choose. Toilet paper, thought Peter. Choose what? I place my future in the hands of the we and me. LBJ, which way will you turn? That was the choice Peter had to make. I know it's late. No one is there. I'll take you there. Help me now. I'll take you there. Mercy, let me take you there. Peter thought that was an angel speaking to him, that he was in LBJ's heaven, where everything was soft and white. Even though LBJ was blacker than black, Peter thought that LBJ as soft and white. Peter was so high on fentanyl that he was just floating on gossamer's wings, and that angel Peter heard was the Staple Singers on the radio that was now being interrupted by all kinds of mechanical alarms telling anyone who cared that Peter was crashing. But no one was there to care. Then Peter was no longer in his body. Peter was floating above his body, looking down on his body. A young nurse, Lois, with clown pink curly hair between her thighs and a fine, naked, curvy body, turned off the alarms and whacked the erection on Peter's body and chuckled as she scratched some notes on Peter's chart. A strapping young black orderly walked into the ICU and asked, "Is he dead yet?" Lois replied, "Almost, but not quite. He has a DNR on his chart. No one has shown up for him since he was brought in. He seems to have no one to care for him. You want to go down to my hole, to my closet, and get a mouthful of chocolate milk? You know I do. But the smell of that closet, why don't we just do it right here?" "You kidding me?" "No, come on. It's 3 a.m. There is no one else on this whole floor but you, me, and this almost dead guy. Come on. I'm not wearing any underwear. It'll be easy peasy. Come on. What are you, chicken?" A dark, squeaky voice behind Peter said, "Look at your erection on your gob-like body. You're almost dead, and your dick is like a steel rod. What do you think that means?" Toilet paper. Wow. It's true about N-word dicks. They're as long as your arm. Look at that pink head. She's sucking on that N-word's dick all the way down. It must be coming out her anal port. Oh my God. She is jacking off that dead guy. LBJ speaks nose to nose with Peter and speaks without words. "Peter, this is your life review, not a porn film. This is a time to reflect, to be consciously aware what so far you have done with your life and what you will freely choose to do with a life ahead of you." Stan, that's the man of the squeaky voice. "What are you doing here?" asked LBJ. Stan, "I'm Peter's defense lawyer." LBJ, "Stan, this is not a trial. Peter, no one is judging you but yourself. As I said, this is your opportunity to freely view what you have done with your life so far. You are being given a choice to turn away from your jokebox lineage of selfish, ego-driven sadism." Stan, the man, "What do you think, Peter? Sounds a lot like self-righteous, judgmental twaddle." Talking about twat, look at that pink head. She is riding your rod reverse cowgirl while hosing herself down with that black dick. Here it is. Love's unheard voice saying, "It is page 7. Reader, I'm breaking into the fourth wall. Hit number 1 all over heaven. You are the promise keeper. You are the promise keeper." LBJ just shook his head and sighed. A sigh of unconditional love, of one love's understanding of the burning bushes work in progress. LGB said, OBJ said, thy will be done. And with a snap of LBJ's fingers, everything started to spin super fast, like a rocket-powered kaleidoscope. Peter experienced everything from going splat and then being pasted back together by an amazing paranormal orgasm of love inside the pink head, Lois. Lois getting knocked up, and Peter being miraculously healed to almost ambulatory normalness, being able to walk away from the responsibility of the trial by a pardon from Governor Rick. The first knock-up, a trans fluid hybrid named Chris. The second knock-up, a flannel LBGQT named Meg. The third knock-up was an intelligent, loyal, well-adjusted, gender-specific young man named Brian, and the family's sociopathic chihuahua named Stewie. Love only asks for you to give up ego's sufferings, loss, sadness, and anxieties, doubt. It seemed nothing had changed for Peter. He still loved to fuck, kill, steal, and lie. Peter seemed to only care about himself. Everything he talked about was about himself, and yet somehow he had turned. Peter was no longer a joke box. Peter turned into a family guy. Let my love come in. Interestingly, like a bad politician, Peter's life was singularly narcissistic, a nonstop re-election campaign advertisement whose platform was a reply of his life's review. Just before Peter's big splat that occurred in 2012 and had run concurrently with the rest of humanity that had not faced their own life's review, God's big splat, mud puppet world continuum of thinking nothing had changed, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different outcome. Wherever there is a space, I will be there. Within the end of Gob's calendar, Gob's worldview had ended along with Gob at that 1/1/2012, but totality of Gob's inertia carried all of who could not let go of their egos off the cliff of what they were told to believe. With eyes wide shut, they'd watched all of what had been unjust, untrue, unworkable, unsustainable, and just evilly wrong, and continue to believe in it is. They kept saying it is just the new normal. It is the new world order was being sold as fascism, sadism, built back better. When LBJ was asked, when would the world end? LBJ replied, not anytime soon. It's all a work in progress. Spoilers, right in front of your I am talking aesthetic. Which way will you turn? Act 1, The World of Pluggy Boom Boom, written down by DOBDM, Dr. Al Bob. Sociopathic, non-sustainable, mercenary, mercantile, extinction, addiction. Peter was like a shark. Peter could not stop his movements of consuming, thinking he was Donnie Chump megging his next scan. nor could the rest of the mud puppets, all rushing, falling full speed towards the big splat. Mud flood, faster than gravity, like the towers of Babel on 9/11. Stan, the man, and LBJ were in a titty bar, the horny hand dog, getting a lap dance by multiple copies of the pink-headed nurse. All around were jumbotrons showing, like a travelogue, a horrific mud puppet catastrophe. Stan, well, brother, things are just zooming along like clockwork. Little Black Jesus. Stan, there is no time left. Stan, that's the beauty of it. The inertia of billions of years of Gob's big lie has energized this horror show to an eternal Mobius loop of unspeakable pain and sorrow. Stuck out here in the backwaters of nothingness, no one who matters cares. Little Black Jesus snapped his fingers. No longer was LBJ in the big hall of the 9 doors titty bar, the handy horny dog, surrounded by news porn of the mud puppets, tomorrow of Gob's big lie of never-ending sadism. In less than a blink of nothing, LBJ was in the burning bushes' conscious awareness, just stepping off the bridge that connects ego's illusion, reflection of the Akashic Records code of the totem pole, with the we and me's co-creation of one love's conscious intent of AOR's whip. LBJ closed his eyes. Father's sky's eye, Mother Earth's heart, AOR's all our relations, we and me, Holy Spirit, eternal twin flame. Page 9. Well, gang, let's see. Well, here I am. And there are 2 of you, Sandra and S. Air. So what did you think of that? That was the first 9 pages of my novel, Ear Hair. And that was just setting up the characters. And it really flies all over the universe. And what do you think? Looks like too graphic there. Didn't want to spare anybody. Well, there's 3 of you guys liked it. 38 minutes. So here it is. What time is it? It's probably 8 something, right? 8:24. Oh, was that 9:24? No, 8:24. So the story is, a metaphor for what we're going through right now, right? And it just keeps going, it gets better and better, so that was, there was nobody here, so I thought I'd just read you some of my novels. Like I said, I've written 4: Legend, Legacy, and Ear Hair. Ear Hair is number 1, then, Legacy, and then Legend, and then the 4th one is Work in Progress. And it's kind of like, Joseph Campbell's work of, you should go read Joseph, Myth of the Hero, right? And there's another great book by Robert. He was a theologian at Cornell, and he had a great little collective called Wisdom's Goldenrod, and his book was, what was it? I forgot, but there's so many great books, and reading is fundamental. I was talking to a friend of mine who's a middle school teacher, and she wants to do the right thing, but every time she does the right thing, she gets punished for it. They just want her to teach the kids to take the test, so all children are left behind. But what's truly interesting is things are just going to get weirder, right? As I said, in the election of 2022, Congress and Senate will be totally turned into the neo-insane clown party. And the Congress will elect Donald Trump as their speaker, because in the Constitution it says nothing that the speaker has to be a member of Congress. And in 2024, someone like Mitchie, Moscow Mitch, will be president, and then we will yo mama, yo mama, yo mama. So, and you think 19 is crazy? Woo-wee. Wait till the aliens, the next, red flag is going to be alien invasion. That's why they made the movie, Independence Day, to give the public a heads up, So come on, guys. There's the two of you there. There's probably more. Oh, it's 41. Let's have a conversation. I've just dropped enough stuff there to make somebody at least scratch their head. Ow. So, out in the deep green, I have no TV, no internet, nothing to distract me. Here, my friend has good, strong internet. That's what I'm talking to you guys on. And, she has a number of platforms, and I can watch. If I have any addiction, it's television. I was like one of those kids who sat in front of the TV like this, and I watched so much TV that the electron gun, the wall behind me etched my shadow for the years that I just sat on the floor watching television. So, but luckily, I didn't have that from year 0 to year 7. I only really started watching TV 7, 8, 9, 10, and then, in third grade. How old are you in third grade? Around 9 or 10? I had a group of friends, and we were living out in the country, so we were building forts and running around and catching frogs and, doing science experiments. Strange science. I was blinded by strange science, and boy, did I see lots of strange science where I was. And I was right in the flight path. The 747s used to fly right off of my front yard to land at Kennedy. I mean, sometimes you could almost reach up and touch the wheels. It was pretty interesting. And a friend who was on the show either this afternoon or last night, he actually was living or is living in that neck of the woods that I was as a kid. And he lives in Glen Cove, right? The north shore of Long Island, right on the border of Suffolk and Nassau County. And anyway, there's still, come on. Let's hear something from Sandra. What do you think, Sandra? Who's the two folk out there? AI, are you there? So guys, what's coming down the line is, I would say, before 2030, there will be no cars. There's going to be a number of disruptions. The aliens are going to invade. We're going to have an Independence Day experience. That's going to, do a nice knockoff of a good chunk of the population, maybe 20 to 40%, right? The big cities will get. And, the wars in Iraq and Syria and Yemen and North Africa are all just little lead-ups to what's going to occur. So a lot of the infrastructure, our infrastructure is so unbelievably bad. And, the reason why the neo-insane clown party will win is that JoJo his whole, he's reading a script of failure. Democrats, there isn't a election that Democrats can't lose. I mean, they should, they do, at least theoretically represent the needs of the people way more than the NICP, the Neo Insane Clown Party, because Republicans don't exist anymore, And the real issue of the NICP is that it's two wings of the same bird. The liberals, the conservatives, the Democrats, the Republicans, they are both the NICP. The NICP are the legislature that money could buy. The NICP is the legislature that money blackmailed. Jeffy, what's his name? With the Lolita Express, that guy, he, I have a sense that he really didn't die. They had somebody who looked a lot like him, and that guy was dead, and Jeffy was escaped because Jeffy was too up high on the food chain because he was not just, a sleaze bag. He was, his little island was right in the hot zone, right where, the Bermuda Triangle is, right where Atlanta, or at least, where Edgar Cayce said that the Atlantean cities will rise, and we have our undersea Area 51 out there, and there's a tremendous amount of paranormal and UFO goings on there, and Let's see what our friend at Dark Journalism has to say about that. Come on. Whoops. So love's co-creation is the way to go, kids, not ego. That's pretty much that first 9 pages of my novel were kind of saying that, Oh, here's my good friend Cliff Hyde.
April, it involves travel. You may want to be very
Come on.
to a friend of mine in 2020. It's 7:31 a.m. This is another video about the COVID-19 situation, and we'll just jump right into it. There's a bunch of new information that's emerged, and we can examine what's coming up. The idea today is to settle off on what works and why. It's important that we discuss the why as well.
This is from December 2019. December 2019.
Run the province of Wu, in which we find Wuhan, the city, in that area, are saying so what we're going to talk about is official responses at the moment, and the city people there are saying that this is the numbers they have. They don't say they're not lying, but they come really close to that. And then they say, here are the things they know they don't know, which is very nice of them. Okay, very straightforward, very adult. So they tell you, there's 40,000 confirmed cases. There's 1,300 confirmed deaths. There's 38
This is
confirmed
December
recoveries, okay?
2019.
And they have pretty strict
Before anyone was talking about it in
criteria
America,
for how they judge
on the media,
recovery.
he was.
So under the circumstances, I'm willing to accept that there have been 3,800 people that have recovered. This is, in a way, though, not very good, okay? Because stacked up against the duration of the illness and the number of people that have it now, we see that it is a very long-lasting condition, and that it's as difficult to be judged recovered as it was initially judged actually having the coronavirus. Anyway, so we continue here, and there's just more to discuss in terms of the Hubei numbers. It's disturbing that there's only 3,800 that have recovered out of the nearly 50,000 confirmed cases. It's disturbing that the death toll keeps rising. It's nice to know, it's not unsettling, it's very nice to know that the Hubei province officialdom is acknowledging that they obviously can't record as a coronavirus death people that are not within their system as having had coronavirus. So if someone dies on the street of coronavirus, it'll never be ascertained that that's why they died. They'll simply just be handled as a dead person. And these days, because coronavirus is so prevalent, they're taking extreme measures, and usual death practices are not being followed. So there's going to be a lot of people's deaths and illnesses that are not recorded. Also, the Hubei people, officialdom, acknowledge the bullet because these people at the top feel that threatened by the circumstances they're in. That implies that this was a bioweapon.